coffee. I mean, we come into the 1470 WWNN studios here. Bob Morency's nowhere around. You know, you can go out and get coffee, and it's like, wait a second, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, Krispy Kreme. And then, you know, Joe Light in here, my illustrious producer, chief bottle washer, board op. You know, he comes in. I mean, he's supposed to be pushing the button that says on the air. Instead, he's in here drinking our coffee, eating our donuts. I mean, Jim, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, Krispy Kreme, your choice? What do you prefer?
I'm pretty much a Krispy Kreme kind of guy, Bill. When I see the red light on, I usually head over there.
Krispy Kreme, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks. Well, you know, I actually prefer Starbucks. And I want to take the opportunity, by the way, to thank the peeps from the Plantation Journal for coming out, because, of course, Rico Petrocelli and the crew out there are videotaping you. This is forever. You're going to be able to memorialize this and, you know, and show your grandkids that, hey, this is back, you know, when Grandpop ran for Attorney General back in 2010. And they'll be, you know, of course...
Well, hope maybe this will be worth something someday, Bill. When I'm actually the Attorney General of this state, we'll look back and say, remember when? Maybe this was the kickoff point where finally people started paying attention to some of the issues that we're talking about.
Yeah, but listen, now that we've finally figured out what it was that you're smoking in the off time, you know, that medicinal marijuana that you're pushing, tell me about this chicken in every pot theory that you have. You know, tell me about the...
Well, that was the Sun Sentinels theory. That wasn't my theory. They seemed to think that you know, that this was a novel idea. It did get some actually national press, and it kind of a little bit put our race a little bit more to the forefront than it was. And for that,
so in other
I
words, you're up to
appreciate
3% of the votes. These are, you know, I mean, Jeff Green for the United States Senate got more votes than you.
We haven't had the election yet, Bill, and I think you're going to see people who are fed up with the Democrats and Republicans and the same old money nonsense and the special interests actually looking at
Where do you
independence.
figure to fare here? I mean, you're pushing for legalized marijuana. How many Floridians, how many of the 18.5 million Floridians here agree with your theory about medicinal marijuana?
About medicinal marijuana, I think you're going to find it close to 50%. But
How many of those 50% votes?
Hopefully a lot of them. Let me tell you, if it's anything like the amount of people who have called me and have emailed me, people who have multiple sclerosis and glaucoma and really serious illnesses that marijuana has been shown to help, who can't get it because they live in Florida, you better believe they're going to go to the polls. And they're calling their neighbors, and they've sent money. I've gotten more money from people on this issue than any other issue.
All right, speaking of money, how much have you raised?
About $20,000.
$20,000. So you raised $20,000 for a statewide election.
That's because I'm not out seeking money, Bill. I'm out taking my message to the voters. I can't compete with $2.7 million or $2.2 million, but I'm not taking money from the special interests or the political parties or lobbyists, and I'm not taking taxpayer money, so-called matching funds. Mr. Gelber's taken about $450,000, and I think Ms. Bonnie's taken...
They're entitled
I'm not entitled to my taxpayers' money or your taxpayers' money to put these negative commercials. It is, and hopefully it's going to be repealed.
It is or they are? I mean, in fact, that is...
No, they're authorized to do it, but they shouldn't do it.
Exactly.
The governor candidates in this race have opted not to take taxpayer money, and so should the Attorney General
candidates. Are you ready for the
candidates.
next call? I think we got Dave on the line. Hello, Dave. You got Dave?
Hi, I got a question for Jim.
All right, your question is?
Jim, how do you feel about offshore drilling? And what can the Attorney General's office do about the Deep Horizon, the BP paying claims to the damage that they've done to Florida businesses?
Well, I'm against offshore drilling, and I think as an independent Attorney General, I'll be able to stand up to the BPs like the other candidates in this race who cannot, because they've taken money, and in Mr. Gelber's case was actually in the same law firm that's now representing BP. But I do not...
Wait, let's stop you real quick there.
Yeah.
How long did Dan Gilbert stay in that law firm? Okay, once that money came in.
Until his primary opponent made a big deal out of it.
Which was all of 20 minutes.
Well, I don't know
Which
how
was
long
all
it
of 20
was.
minutes. Dan Gilbert immediately got raised.
Let's get back to the issue that he asked, and that's offshore drilling. I have always been against offshore drilling in Florida. If those folks in Louisiana and Texas and thinks it's part of their economy and they need it, that's fine.
But our economy, okay for pot, though. You're okay for marijuana. It's okay to have marijuana.
Let's get back.
You know what?
We're not going to get pot drilling for oil off the coast of Florida, Bill. But let me tell you, we don't need that in Florida. It's dangerous. We saw the kind of... We're still recovering. We really didn't have any oil that washed up in the state.
You recovered for an accident is what you're recovering
No,
from.
and we shouldn't have it. We shouldn't have the people in Pensacola that have gone through this. and have lost all of a lot of their economic base from tourism because people were afraid that oil was washing up on the beaches when in fact very little did. They're still recovering from that, and we can't afford this type of a spill.
From an accident.
No, it was more than an accident. It was a dangerous. It's negligence that rises far above what an accident. BP should be punished, and BP should be paid to clean this. And we should never be in a position in Florida where we have to worry about this. If we're going to start having oil wells within 300 miles, and something like this would happen off the coast of Florida, we could pretty much kiss our tourism dollars goodbye and all the jobs that go with it. We can't afford that.
We're recovering from this accident. Hurricane Katrina went through the Gulf of Mexico, a Category 5 storm that wiped out most of Louisiana, Mississippi, or at least the southern portions of it. Didn't hurt the oil rigs.
We can't do anything about hurricanes, Bill, but we damn sure can do something about oil rigs.
Listen, you can drive across the street here, as soon as you get on the other side of the tracks and have an auto accident, things happen. The question is whether or not you were negligent in going through the stoplight.
Yeah, but you have to calculate the risk. Is it worth the risk to have oil wells off the state of Florida for that economic benefit, as opposed to wiping out the entire tourism industry if we would have that kind of disaster off our coast?
You're talking out of both sides of your mouth here, Jim. You want to legalize marijuana, you want to bring in millions and billions of dollars of tax base to Florida, yet you want to say that we can't have an oil rig.
Bill, nobody dies using marijuana. People die from using cocaine and these prescription drugs that they turn to because they can't get marijuana. Nobody dies from marijuana.
And who died on the oil rig other than, say, the initial explosion?
About the 11 guys that died, and a lot of people's...
And that's a risk
there's a lot of people that died from that oil well, Bill.
That's an employment risk that you take. That's a part of your occupation.
Yeah, the poor fisherman who no longer has a way to earn an income, and the people that committed suicide on the Gulf because the life as they knew it is gone.
Fire claim. Matter of fact, isn't the Florida Attorney General's office, you know, running or coordinating the claims through British Petroleum? Are they not doing that? I mean, if you became Attorney General, aren't you the guy that's going to fight for the Floridians to get their money from BP?
Oh, you better believe it. And I'll be the one who's most qualified to do that, because I'll be the independent attorney.
It's okay to collect the money. It's okay to sit
there. It's darn right. If they made the message, it's darn right it's okay to collect the money. But I still don't want those oil derricks off of our coast where they can pollute our beaches or our coral reefs and take away the very lifeblood of our state.
How many miles off coast were there?
The ones that...
Well, the one that they had the accident, the one that blew up.
That was a couple hundred miles off.
Oh, a couple hundred miles, and of course, you admit the oil didn't really make it to the shores of Florida. I mean,
well, it made it to the shores of Louisiana and Mississippi. Okay. We were lucky we didn't get much of a hit here. But I'm saying, if you want to
General, you have nothing to do with Louisiana or Mississippi.
No, but I do with off the coast of Florida, and I can guarantee you that I'll be the first one there that's pushing for an amendment that we do not allow oil wells off our coast. Again, we can't control what they do in Louisiana and Texas, but we darn well can put a lot of pressure on those companies that want to build oil wells off our coast, off both the Atlantic and the Gulf side, which they want to do, which I'm not willing to run the risk, and you shouldn't be willing for that risk.
All right, let's switch gears real quick. Let's get back to the medical marijuana. You know, you talk about nobody dies from marijuana. You talk about nobody dies from the smoking. How many people actually cause or create accidents as a result of, say, driving while high, driving while impaired, driving while intoxicated? You know, I have 2 or 3 drinks too many. I'm going to blow over that.
But that's it, Bill. We still let people drink alcohol. And if we're going to license and let people drink alcohol, then we might as well let them smoke pot as well. I'm not advocating smoking marijuana in public. People should do it in the privacy of their own homes. I'm not advocating.
What about driving?
Absolutely not. You should be doing no driving, no vehicle, just like when you drink, you shouldn't be drinking any alcohol and driving a vehicle. And we have ways to test for that. So we test for it now when people are pulled over and they don't smell alcohol, but they look like they're messed up. We have them give a urine test or a blood test. And that's the same kind of thing that we can do. We're not going to make life any more dangerous. The fact that we legalize marijuana doesn't mean that less people are going to smoke it. The statistics have shown that in the states that have legalized marijuana.
Are you ready to talk to George? Because, I mean, I'm falling asleep over here. George, you're on the line.
Yeah, I want to know, we got about the illegal immigration coming into the state.
Well, Jim's probably in favor of that. I mean, put them to work, you know, legalize them, put them to work. How do you fare on illegal immigration? I mean,
well, it is
send them back, keep them here.
Illegal immigrants should be deported. You know, right now they are using our hospitals.
What are you going to do as Attorney General to deport them?
I'm going to make sure that we use our resources and that put pressure on the federal government to do their job, which is not a state function, it's a national function.
Okay, which is actually the point I was going to bring up. As Attorney General, you have squat. You have no authority all over.
No, that's not true. As the chief law enforcement officer in this state, I'm the guy that can get on a plane, go to Washington, D.C.
Are you going to check?
I don't, because I think that's racially profiling. I don't support the Arizona kind of law.
How is it racially profiling? What is it?
Because they're going to pull over all the Latins or people that they think are from the Caribbean. Because that's the way it works. Look, we have plenty of INS officials and ICE officials that are out there every day.
Which have nothing to do with the Attorney General's office. That's all federal.
Right, but they're doing their job, and they're doing a good job, and they're patrolling the jails, and anybody that doesn't have status, they're shipping them back, which is what should happen. The federal government's got to do more so that we come up with a realistic immigration policy. But the Arizona law will only do things like get us boycotted and upset everybody for no real rational purpose. We're not like Arizona where we have, farmers being killed by people coming over the border. But we've got to do something. Too many illegal immigrants are here in Florida, and they're taking jobs from Floridians, and they're not paying taxes. Now, if they want to pay taxes...
Do you have a nanny or a housekeeper at home?
No, I don't.
Have you ever had a nanny or a housekeeper?
That I've had through services, and I've paid them through the services, and I'm sure that their taxes
you've always
are
had
being paid.
So you're sure. So when it comes down to it, you've hired these individuals through these outside services, but how do you know they were paid their taxes? How do you know that they were legal?
Just like any employer. Just like any employer, you hope that when you hire somebody and that they're documented and they're doing the right thing. And then we really do have to make sure that our employers are only hiring legal immigrants, because if not, especially when we don't, we have the highest unemployment, on the highest unemployment rates in the nation. These jobs have to be available for people who pay taxes and people who are citizens. And we've got to do more to make sure that that happens.
All right, Jim, we're getting ready to go into a break. If somebody wants to learn more about your harebrained campaign for Attorney General here, running for Attorney General, your 3% vote, I mean, Mickey Mouse has a higher rate.
Bill, that was a poll that was done a month ago before any of the press or media that we've got in the race. I think we're a lot higher now, but hopefully we'll know in a week or so.
I mean, so 10 days from now or 11 days from now, come November 3rd, what are you going to be doing for a living?
Hopefully I'll be the Attorney General of Florida, Bill.
All right, I guess put another rock in your pipe. All right, Bill Lewis here on the Credit Report. Your opinion does matter. 888-565-1470. My guest is Jim Lewis, virtually and completely ignored by everyone except me. Your opinion matters. Be right back.